Former Eskom CEO André has agreed to appear before Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts. That's where they will discuss some of the allegations of corruption that he's made about affairs at the utility, following an interview that he gave earlier this year, just before his notice period was cut short. Now, Scopa wrote to Ruyter inviting him to appear before MPs and explain some of the comments that he made in that interview. No date has been given as to when he will appear. Standing Committee on Public Accounts Chairperson Nkulego says Ruyter has indicated that he will also present written submissions.
Well, it will tell us the truth, and the truth will point us towards the problems further at Eskom, and for the law enforcement agencies to actually run a thorough investigation. The whole point has been we want investigations that are successful so that they can lead to meaningful prosecutions. But the bottom line is that for Eskom to turn around, we need to be able to zoom into the pockets of challenges that are there, the corruption and so on. And if Mr. Ruyter has information, it should be provided, and then we facilitate it further. We are quite confident in the working relationship we have with the SIU and the AG specifically, and the other law enforcement agencies generally, that it will assist the process. So it's less a political intervention, but more one which is fact-finding to ensure that the facts come to light and that they assist the country and assist Eskom turn the corner, and we are able to deal in part with the load shedding challenges that are there. Some of the issues that he had raised, of course, we already are all fair with insofar as what is happening at Tutuga amongst them other issues. So it's generally not new things, but what is new is the specific details that he has, which will be able to help us.
Let's speak more about that now with Professor Sampson Mamphweli, an energy and governance expert. A very good evening to you, Professor. Good to have your time on News of Prime as always. So, André has finally agreed to appear before the Standing Committee on Public Accounts to detail some of what he alleged in that TV interview in February. What questions should be top of mind?
Good evening to you, Tembekile, and the viewers. It's important that he appears before Scopa. And the main issue for me is for him to basically tell the nation or tell Scopa, who amongst the people that he implicated did what. So that is quite important. We also know that Eskom at some point they had forensic investigators looking at various acts of sabotage and things like that. But those kind of reports were never made public. So it's quite important for him to present such reports to Scopa and indicate to them who are the people involved in this sabotage and what is the motive behind all this sabotage, because this is something that is costing the country and the economy dearly when it comes to load shedding. André mentioned that there were some ministers involved and things like that, and he implicated the ANC, which in my view was very much unfair, because then he left the nation speculating who he could be talking about, and that could cast aspersions against particular individuals. So it's important for him to come out and say the names of the particular individuals and what they said, and provide evidence that will prove what he has said. That will assist. That is something that will assist the nation greatly.
It'll be interesting, as you say, to see what evidence Ruyter would be able to bring before Parliament, if there will be any, because Minister Pravin Gordhan, Minister for Public Enterprises, has already said that there was a conversation between them that had happened, but he wasn't satisfied that Ruyter had basically given him enough to go on as far as names and what the individual people accused of wrongdoing at Eskom had actually done. Given that this is a parliamentary inquiry, and Nkulego, the Scopa chair, was saying that it's more of a fact-finding mission, how much pressure do you think there will be on Ruyter to give names, dates, facts, perhaps even a paper trail to prove some of the allegations, if indeed one exists?
It is going to be a difficult one for him, in my view, because when you listen to him, at face value, he talked about people who approached him and said certain things. So it's quite difficult, because it then becomes your word against the person's word. but then there is circumstantial evidence that he can provide, which can lead to some of these discussions having taken place. He can provide the details of meetings between him and these ministers that are normally set down on diaries, and he could provide evidence in the form of saying there was this or that particular other person who was in the meeting, or who was in the meeting before or after whatever happened. So that's going to be very difficult in my view, unless he pulls forensic reports, and those would normally point to the people within Eskom who were busy with sabotage and corruption activities. And we know that some of the people who were involved in corruption and things like that have already been arrested. Some of them are facing are going in and out of court. So those may be easy to prove, but proving what somebody said in the absence of other people, it then becomes your word against that particular individual. Some of us are looking forward to see what particular information he's got against either the ANC or the individuals that he mentioned in the past.
You mentioned the ANC. It had threatened to take legal action against André Ruyter, who alleged that basically Eskom had become the party's feeding trial, if you will, through corruption. We don't know where that legal process stands tonight, but ANC MPs who are part of this committee, at least SCOPA, are also likely to question him greatly on the issue of timing, why it is that he opened up only at the end of his time as Eskom CEO, rather than speak openly when he was facing pressure from the corrupt, if indeed, as he's alleging, is what happened.
Yes, and that's going to be very difficult for him, Thembekile, because when you say the ANC as an organization, or any other political party or organization for that matter, you need to then prove beyond reasonable doubt that there was an instruction from within an ANC structure, either the National Executive Committee or the National Working Committee or the Top Six, or a resolution that was taken at a conference that directed certain individuals to be involved in whatever you are saying. So that becomes an organizational kind of a thing. But if you can't just say, I was approached by Mr. X and he said the ANC need A, B, C, D, and E, because then that becomes the word of Mr. X, which cannot be proven beyond reasonable doubt that it came from a structure or an organization. So that, for me, is going to be very difficult for him.
And all of this is unfolding while Eskom is in pursuit or in search of a new CEO. The board hasn't been in post that long. How much is the issue of corruption, the allegations made by the former CEO, how much of that is going to have bearing on the ability of this current board and whoever is appointed CEO, their ability to function properly and especially get the country out of the load-shedding crisis?
It just creates, especially when there's no real evidence, and we're still waiting for him to provide that evidence. When there's no real evidence that is put forward, it puts the Eskom board, it puts the new CEO in a very difficult position, because there are these allegations that would have not been proven. So the new board would not know where to look for when it comes to issues of corruption and maladministration and things like that, the issues that he has raised. That's why it's quite important for him to provide evidence that will lead to particular individuals. That also gives the particular individuals an opportunity to respond without casting any aspersions against the particular individuals from the public opinion, because as soon as André mentioned what he mentioned, people started speculating to say it could be Minister so-and-so, it could be Minister so-and-so, or it could be Mr. so-and-so. And those people then become disadvantaged because then the public then puts them in a court of public opinion, and then they prosecute and then they judge them. So it's quite important that he provides the solid evidence that leads to particular individuals, and that those individuals then have an opportunity to respond to the allegations and dispute the allegations or agree with the allegations if they have to agree with them.
Professor Sampson Mamphweli, energy and governance expert, good to speak to you as always on the issues at Eskom.